Are you coming back to school with me? We could have done it all so easily.
Hi, my name is Craig Thompson-Wood. I'm your host on Teaching with Board Games, here today to take a part 2 look at Fraction City. So just last week I put out the first video for Fraction City, and in doing it I said in the review there was some issues I had with the game, and I said I had some ideas on how to fix those things in the game, at least fix it from my perspective. The big thing with the game is twofold. One is just the fractions that you're asking the kids to look at are quite difficult and can lead to a lot of frustration unless they're already strong with it, in which case you can just reinforcing the strengths. Secondly, the analysis paralysis, the length of time it's going to take in between turns, the downtime in between turns is going to be huge, partially due to that analysis paralysis I just mentioned, which is where the player whose turn it is looking which way can they go, what moves can they make, what fractions can they use, what is the best use of them, because it's not always just using one token, it's in ways that you can use multiple tiles in order to score more points for one go. It's just a lot of thinking in one person's turn. And then if you have a 4-player game, that's 3 rounds of people just thinking for a while as they consider every possible combination, every possible move. You're waiting for a while, and it gets really boring, and that's one thing I don't like in a game, is when they have lots of downtime. So it's something I have thought, how could this be circumvented in this game? So now, one thing I didn't actually mention in the first video too was that you can also, they have rules in there where you can use subtraction of the fractions as well. Well, with the things I just mentioned, with the difficulty as well as the length of time that each player takes, I think the whole subject of using subtraction just exacerbates the problems. It's going to make it that you have even more calculations to make, and subtraction of fractions, like subtraction, even in basic addition of single digits to compared to this basic subtraction of single digits, I find students, there's a huge gap in there. Like, the students can be fine with addition, but as soon as you move to subtraction, that's where it all kind of falls apart for them. So I just didn't think that was one that I wanted to talk about in the first go. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to the table, and I will show you, rather than tell you, what the changes would be that I would recommend for Fraction City. This is the setup for my first recommendation, which is just a straight co-op game. I would still play up to 4 players, and just make it so that way everybody is on one team. Everybody's working together to do this, and if you have 2 groupings of this, then maybe the players can compete against the other group. But in this way, there's never going to be any downtime, which, as I said, is my biggest problem with the game, is the amount of downtime that there is. So players can then work together to roll the dice, and now with 3, so let's just say you had the 4 players in a group. Well, each player can go like 1, 2, 3, 4. They can start to look at all those different directions they could possibly go, and what kinds of things could they be doing. So if I'm player 1, I look here, player 2 looks here, player 3 looks here, player 4 looks here, and they start to examine all the different outcomes that they can come up with. What is the best thing that they can be doing with that? And even if one player sees, then they can go down and help another player if they're struggling. If one player, say, coming down here says, I can't see anything, then you can go over and give them a hand. If you want to do this in multiple groups, then you could have it that this city is competing against another city. So that way the game can be competitive, but still all the players are playing simultaneously, and there will be no downtime. Plus which, the whole idea of the calculations and the difficulty is going to be supported by the fact that the students are going to be working together and helping one another. When you're doing this, I would suggest making it in likability math groups, so that you don't have one student who's stronger than the others carrying them for every question. Encourage the participation of all the group members, and I would also suggest when playing this is to have them write down their findings. So say, for example, they go down this way, they go 1, 2, 3 to here, and they have the 1/3 or 3/6, and they're using the 4/6 plus 1/3 equals a whole. Then they would write that down. 4/6 plus 1/3 equals 1 whole. Play until one group reaches 10 as per the rules, or play until you run out at the end of the period and compare with the other city to see who got more tiles. Either way, it works, and it's going to be much more successful with the students, as well as no downtime, so it's going to be more fun, as well as the students are going to be more successful in figuring out the fractions. So my second idea, which could be played individually if you wish, but I would still recommend playing it in the cooperative method, is instead of making the whole, so 1/2 plus 1/2, 2/3 plus 1/3, 1/12 plus, etc., is finding equivalent fractions for the numbers. So where you go to 1/2, I don't have a half here, but okay, going back down to the first one I had, if I had the 1/3 plus the 4/6, that doesn't work either. What am I doing? So for example, 2/3 is equivalent to 4/6. Because learning the equivalent fractions is going to be the first step that they really need to be doing, in my opinion, in order to be able to add the fractions. You need to know the equivalents, and so to be able to make the wholes. So playing it with just matching the equivalent fractions in the first place is going to be sort of a leading step into the ability to add and eventually subtract the fractions. So that would be my second suggestion. My final suggestion for the game would be if you do want to play with multiple players, and provided that all the players are already strong with their fractions, you could play it in a 4-player game where each player is playing simultaneously with their own hand. They have to write down their things, of course, to prove that they've done it correctly afterwards. But the point is that they are trying to complete their quadrant first. So green is responsible for this quadrant, red for this one, yellow for this one, blue for this one. So the quadrant would be in the division lines of the board. So there's a even, I haven't counted them out, but I'm guessing there's an even number: 3, 6, 9, 11, 3, 6, 9, 11, 3, 6, 9, 11. Yes, 3, 6, 9, 11. Yes. So each quadrant has 11 circles. So you could do it so that each member is playing to their own quadrant. Now, you could play this as the equivalent fraction one if you wish, or you could play it as the game suggests with the making the whole. Either way you do it. So when they get one down, so with this system, I wouldn't be rolling the dice. I would allow the players to move wherever they want to in their quadrant, because that way it's going to be easier to manipulate and work with the tokens that they have. It's going to be a more satisfying experience as well. And if they look and they feel they don't have anything, they can always trade out one token for another token that is in the pile. So, say for example, green recognizes they have 6/8, which is equal to 3/4. That doesn't work. Sorry, 2/8, which is equal to 1/4, with the 3/4 will make one whole. In this case, the green would take their token and put it onto that space to show that they have completed that one. This way you're able to track which ones have been completed. They would then take another token. And then they have 2/3, which is 4/6. They take that token. And they can just work through these problems as they go along. But by modifying in that way, all the players playing simultaneously don't have to wait for the other players to take their turns. They all just play at the same time, working through it as fast as they can. I might almost take a bananagrams approach too to the tiles, where I have the tiles all face down, and if a player decides that they say, you know what, this 9/12 really doesn't work for me, they can discard it, but they have to put it back face up and then take another tile. Now, they can take another tile which is face up already, or they can just take their chance with a random tile face down. By putting it face up, it gives players other knowledge, so if somebody sees that they have a 3/12 in their location, they'll say, well, hey, that's a no-brainer, I'll take that one, thank you. And they can use the 9/12 to their advantage. Now, what you couldn't do, actually, as I'm thinking about it now, is you couldn't do this. Well, I guess you could. You could do 2/12 plus 1/12 is 3/12 plus 9/12 is 12/12. So if you need to use multiple tokens in a space, why not? Go for it. You know, the idea is just allowing the students the opportunity to see how they can do these things, and it still allows for that whole dichotomous key to come into effect, where they can use as many tokens as they need to in order to do that. If there's two students end like at the same time, and there's sort of a need for a tiebreaker, then I guess you could count the number of tiles on their quadrant as a thing. Like I said, these are just ideas I've come up with in the last few days, and just thinking about this, like I had an idea for one or two, and it's sort of, the more I think about it, the more ideas are coming up with it. I think this is like a template for some great ideas. There's a lot that could be done with this. It's just the way it was being done in the rules, I think it was problematic for those reasons I had mentioned. And so there you have it. 3 new ways to play Fraction City. as I said in the video, the more I thought about the game, like I came up with 2 ideas when I'd done the video, and I was thinking about it. I thought, well, those are some simple solutions to the problem of the time. Like the big problems with the game that I have as rules as written are the time that everybody has to wait for their turn, and the difficulty levels high, and the students who are already good at it are just going to be good at this game, whereas the students who are not good at it are just going to be frustrated and not encouraged to play. Whereas if you take those things away by making it cooperative, it just suddenly becomes problem solved. And that was my first big idea for the game. But as I thought about it more and more, those other ideas started coming up. And even as I was doing the thing there, suddenly more ideas were coming, like the idea of the bananagramming the tiles and everything to make it that they're all face down and then face up, giving people other chances to see and work with that. I mean, it's just like, I'm sure if I continue thinking about it, more ideas will come, and I'm sure you, the viewer, after watching this, have ideas too. And if you do, please leave those down in the comments section. I love to hear from the viewers, and I think that this kind of thing, like I said, there's a good idea there. It's just the way it was executed was a little awkward, a little, it just wasn't working for me. And so I would love to see what other people think too. I think that this kind of collaboration is how you take a good game and make it into a great game. You take a good idea and make it into a great idea. I mean, it's been so many ideas in my life. My best ideas have not been my ideas alone. I'm always saying that, giving credit to the people who help me sharing their ideas to make a game better. And that's hopefully what I'm doing for you here now, and inspiring you to come up with your own ideas, which hopefully you'll share with me. And that is going to wrap it up for today's episode. Until next time, I am Craig Thompson Wood, your host on Teaching with Board Games, saying thanks for coming to the classroom.
Are you coming back to school with